Derby is steeped in women's history, and it feels so special to be carrying on that legacy of the activism of women in this city, whether it's, you know, some might see as something small as just standing up and having your voice, but women were doing that 100 years ago in Derby. So for us to be walking in their footsteps, and it's a shame we're still having to do it 100 years later, but we are carrying on the legacy that they started. We care about the women in our city, and we are change makers.
The global story of International Women's Day celebrations around the world date back to 1911. But in the heart of the UK, a group of women in Derby gathered together in 2016 and wondered what the local history of their city and their local county of Derbyshire had been. They went to their local studies library in the city of Derby and found only 2 indexed references to International Women's Day activities in their area. But they knew they'd heard clues and talk and memories of it going back a bit further, but they didn't know how far. So in 2016, they joined together with Heritage Partners Culture Train and secured Heritage Lottery funding to train up 20 women and children in local study research skills. They dove into the archives, looked back over every march for over 100 years to see what was in the newspapers and the archives on record. They were surprised to discover suffragette roots going back to the early 1900s and decades of incredible records, photographs and stories which are captured in this film to tell Derby's HERstory.
And 1975 was the year of UN acknowledged and recognized and made it as an international Women's Day. Before that, it was more of the left movement that was celebrating, commemorating it as International Women's Day, but UN had never recognized it or acknowledged it and put it on their statutes book, and they did in 75. And after 75, Indian Work Association made sure that they celebrate and they commemorate the day. They looked at what women have achieved, what there is to be achieved, and plan for the next year, between this year and next year, and aim what we are going to work on, and for the women's liberation, not for celebration as enjoying yourself, dancing and dinner and that kind of stuff. But yes, there were poetry, there were sing-songs, but they were related to women's issues, women's liberation, that what women had done in the past historically and what women should do in future, and how women should be liberated. And that is how we did. Including that, we had public meetings. In the public meetings, we look at the current issues and future issues. There were speeches from various organizations, not only the Indian women, but there were women from unions, women from other organizations that were working on the similar aims, and together we made a plan, and together we thought we will jointly work for the aim of how to liberate women. And primary issue, primary aim was how to get rid of patriarchy. Greenham Common women, we were very, very impressed by the work they were doing, and also primarily we celebrated actually the work the Greenham Common women were doing, and we because we felt that there should not be war, there should not be any armaments. That is why we supported the Greenham Common women. Unfortunately, we hadn't had a chance to go and join them at Greenham Common, but we invited the ladies who, Derby women who were at sitting at Greenham Common, and we brought them. We asked them to come and talk about their work and what their challenges were, and that I can picture it now how we did it. That was at the Indian Community Center.
1, 2, 3. We are women, we are strong, we are fighting for our lives, side by side with the men who work the nation's minds, united by the struggle, united by the past, and it's here we go, for the women of the working class.
And Derbyshire County Council did organise very well, no doubt about it, but there were two sides to it. There were celebration side of it, and there was political side of it. And the political side was very much looking at the injustices, women's inequality, women's liberation, and I covered all those issues at the meeting. And it was very much organised by the county, by the councillors. Were at the forefront of organising it, and I remember there were after only one program I can remember that was in Derby itself, but the rest was at the county offices in Matlock, and the county actually did organise buses. 20 Asian women traveled to Matlock, and we had our own stalls on anti-dowry was one of the issue stall we had. We had workshops, and we generally participated in the celebration side as well.
I'd heard of International Women's Day, but not really engaged. I think the first one I attended was here at Derby Women's Centre, 1989, I think. And I've been going pretty much ever since to celebrate in one way or another. And so I was here quite a lot. So it's difficult for me to separate the memories, but I do remember things like books. You know, there was a library, they were trying to get people to read feminist literature when I was here in the 90s, and there was pregnancy testing, but more than that, there was, you know, trying to empower women through different means. It was low-key, but it was wonderful. There was something really grassroots about what was happening in the late 80s, and I think with technology we've lost a bit of that, the connections with people. It was really grassrootsy, it was really low-tech. We didn't have social media and all the stuff that, you know, people can do now. So it would be a small screen or a projector, projected film onto a wall or something, or onto a piece of cloth. It was, I particularly remember watching the film Thelma and Louise, and the women organising were so friendly and casual and welcoming.
Our mayor of the day, he decided that he would make Derby a breastfeeding friendly place. So we did lots of work. We set up a charter, breastfeeding charter, and we came across lots of incidents where women were being discriminated against for breastfeeding. I mean, you wouldn't think it, would you? But people were coming to us and saying, you know, thankfully not in our premises, but certainly, I better not name, but big name companies who were turfing women out for breastfeeding in their eating establishments. We got people in the community to nominate women in the community for things they have done, and we had some absolutely amazing entries, and it was a real tough act, you know, to try and pick some out, like they always are, these events, aren't they? But we did pick some, and we had a reception in the mayor's reception room up in the council house, and yeah, it was great to see what these women had achieved and to see them, you know, thanked for that, and they had made a contribution that we valued. Yeah, it was brilliant.
In 2011, it was a special year because it was the global centenary of the very first International Women's Day, proposed by Clara Zetkin and others, mostly socialists in Russia and America. The first one as chair for me was then in 2013. So we continued to plan it as a committee. And in 2013, Derby City Council launched a new council house. It was being refurbished, it was brand new, and so that became the venue that year. And the numbers really shot up. I think we had about 500 visitors. And I think a lot of people were just curious to see this new building, so I think that really helped in our favour. And there were lots of booths where normally council services would be, and we were able to use those as stallholder spaces to exhibit and engage people in creative activity like setting goals or aspirations. I remember, I think it was Spiral Arts who ran an activity where people wrote on flags, on little kind of cocktail sticks, special things they wanted to do for their well-being or me time. It were really lovely. We had choirs, we had dancers, we had young people sharing their talent. And that year we also had the Mayor of Derby, Lisa Higginbottom, who opened the event, and she actually planted a tree that we'd arranged with Million Trees Derbyshire. So we joined her in planting a silver birch tree for women worldwide. And it was really nice, I think, to do something that felt like an eco-action that women often worldwide have often led in environmental work. But also the silver birch tree has a lot of associations with the witching history into the brooms as well. So we really like the symbolism of the silver birch, and it became a special place to go and visit anytime you wanted to sit quietly by a tree that was for you as a woman. It was a really nice sort of space. So you could just sit by this tree and have tranquility on the river gardens in Derby. In 2013, it was the first year we developed a partnership with Burton and South Derbyshire College, which we've continued every year since, where the students designed the poster and they entered really a competition to pitch designs, and each year our team then chooses the best design. So these graphic design students get this experience to add to their CV, and they get a real life project to see their work out there. They also get to practice pitching to a real client and getting feedback. And of course it helps us because we get, you know, great fresh designs from rising talent, but we also get to educate the young people at college about diversity considerations, accessible design features, and thinking about depictions of women. So in all of our posters we want women depicted away from the usual cliches of delicate flower, the maternal innocence or sexual object, and instead as fierce, powerful and rising. And it's really nice to be able to engage young people who will be going into that industry where women are often depicted in problematic and stereotypical ways, and we hope it plants some seeds with them as they go forward into their careers. It was also the first year they did a magazine with us, which for the next few years is something that became an annual tradition. So we interviewed and featured amazing women from across Derby and Derbyshire in sports and politics and activism and all sorts of stereotype busting roles. And people also sent in their poems, which was really nice. And I know that for quite a lot of women it was the first time they'd had their work published, so it was a really proud moment, and it gave a platform to women to have their voice heard in a different way. Because we're so mindful that not everyone wants to be on the megaphone or on the microphone or speaking in public, but their poetry being printed was another way for their voice to be heard and included in the celebration.
When I met Vanessa in 2013, I mentioned the fact that I made dolls based around empowerment. An important aspect of the dolls is the fact that they do celebrate diversity. They celebrate diversity in cultures, what people look like, skin tones, hair textures, everything. So people can actually make dolls that actually represent themselves. Representation is a very important part of my doll making the workshops, and especially black girls. It's very rare that they can go to an event where they'll have the opportunity to actually make a doll with an afro like themselves, to actually make a doll with dreadlocks, to make a doll that in their own skin tone, and they're always very surprised that that opportunity is there. And we also put local heroes, sheroes, into the dolls. We had, for example, Denise Richards, who is a prominent activist in Derby and beyond. We also have Donna Briscoe, and she she is the first black woman to have a pub in Derby. And she also uses her facility for events that uplift and strengthen black people in the community and everyone else.
So I've been involved with the Human Library over the years, and it's a library where the books are people with titles. So you would just go and choose a title. You don't know who you're going to talk to, but you get to spend like half an hour talking to them. And I really enjoyed that, and I've been a book myself. But having the opportunity to actually talk to somebody else, and they've probably never spoken to another Muslim person dressed like me. That's always nice, but even for me, I think I've taken out books. I always find it's always really inspirational to learn more about other people. But also as part of Human Library, I was able to get my son involved as well, who was a librarian, who actually really enjoyed it. He can be a little bit of an introvert, but it was a great experience for him also to volunteer, talk to people, and he really enjoyed it, and he wanted to continue doing it over the years. So that was also nice. I felt like I was able to get like my boys involved volunteering as well at the same time with the Women's Day event.
You know, our city is challenging, but it's also amazing women that are holding up, you know, so much. But the idea is that you celebrate women where they are, what they've done, what their achievements are, and you involve the community in deciding who is, you know, who would nominate, and the categories run for younger women, for all sorts of women in different sort of areas of work and activity, so it's quite broad. And I remember, you know, you having various workshops and things happening, which is always great in a red tent setting, and someone fell asleep. And that is one of the most beautiful things, because very often you can build in time for women to rest, and you can do whatever you like, basically. And the fact that somebody came in, curled up and went to sleep, that was her participation, but it was a really beautiful one.
Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it, just begin it. Boldness has genius.
So Rebel Women's Choir is about women raising their voices together for sisterhood and solidarity, I'm a fan of women doing creative stuff together, because I think a lot of the kind of prescribed activities for women have to do with like looking a certain way, or you know, there's a lot of like women like shopping, women like getting their nails done. I really like it when there's other stuff for women to do together. So I think the choir for me is partly addressing that, but it's also about kind of connecting with women's voices more generally, and one of the ways that we do that is by singing songs that are either by or about women.
It means that I can leave the house for a valid reason
On your own.
on my own, and it's not even Asda. I'm going to a thing that's for me. It means some of the songs are 3 or 4 part harmonies, and we learn them, and it doesn't make much sense until we all start to sing together, and then we're looking at each other like, oh, that sounds great. yeah, really uplifting and nice.
And after we've been practicing, you know, a few times, and then we sing something in 3-part harmony, and you can just, it's quite emotive.
Yeah,
it's quite emotional and lovely and shared.
I worked running some workshops to help the community print empowering images that were then sewn together into making a very, very long bunting that was used to display and decorate the festival each year. And that was an incredible project. It just produced so many beautiful images, and then sewing this whole beautiful piece together, and then seeing it hung like from start to finish was such a wonderful experience.
During 2018, we had a project, as you know, around the first women who were able to vote. It was 2018, it was the Vote 100 campaign, and all sorts of things were going on. So we had our project, and so one of the things that we brought to that International Women's Day was it wasn't banner making, it was sash making, but making like deeds, not words, sashes, but women were able to write all kinds of things on their sashes and so on, and that was really wonderful as well. In that year, actually, there was a kind of a suffragette march around the city. I've got films of that somewhere, I think, somewhere. But yeah, that was really lovely as well.
I actually took my boys with me as well. Yes, it is probably not very cool for young boys to be on a Women's Day march, but they did come, spoke on the microphone, and that was really nice. And that, again, that's something I've never ever done. So yeah, that was the first. So yeah, I would say Women's Day Derby has given me the opportunity, lots of things for the very first time that I wouldn't have done before. And I think having such supportive committee members, it makes all the difference.
Another standout moment was when we were making the placards of inspiring women. So that was really good because I learnt a lot from doing that project. So we found that we had a list of different women, and we asked people to choose a sort of print of that woman, and then they put it onto a large placard and decorated it in International Women's Day colours, and then they were used in the march that we did from, I think it was from the Arboretum into town, I think it was. So that was just lovely to see that, and it's sort of I got so much more knowledge about women around the world that have been doing wonderful, inspiring things.
And it was great to have a fire engine come onto the park and join us, which we'd had in a few years for Women's Day, and it was crewed entirely by female firefighters. And it was great to see the kids climb on and wear the firefighter hat and see all these women running the appliance. So although there's a lot of fun and celebration in Women's Day, if you look more closely, there's a lot of actually deeper messages and perception-changing visibility by just sort of having female boxers and footballers and rugby players, firefighters, engineers, activists, politicians come and be part of the day.
Yes, I talk about again on the panel, and that was about the Sheenbag woman. Great woman, inspirational woman. Those women had never ever came out of their houses. They had never joined any protest, and these were the house wives, so to speak, and they came out in their thousands to show their power against the present regime in India, which is BJP.
I actually really enjoyed meeting people online, because we was obviously in the lockdown and that space was all virtual on good old Zoom. But I actually enjoyed it because it gave me an opportunity to meet so many people, getting emails and names and knowing what was out there. And it gave me some downtime, in a bizarre way. There was a downtime, as much as it was busy, with the activities that was online, it was still relaxing, and it was in my space. So yeah, I really enjoyed, it's really good doing it in person, but it was also good. It was safe, I was at home, and like I say, met some amazing women, listened to some amazing singing, and, women singing about women's rights and the inequalities and things. It was really uplifting and very empowering.
Reclaim the Night was really special. I think because it was the first time we'd been together as a group and we'd experienced that, but there'd been so many stories in the media of women who had just been going about their business and had been attacked by men who thought they were entitled to them, to their bodies, to their lives, to the course of their history. So it really felt like, as women, we were coming together and saying, no, this isn't acceptable in our city or in any city. And there was so much empowerment in us being together as a collective and using our unified voice to show how we were feeling about the situation. And that in turn has led to real change and real conversations happening in our city.
We really felt there was a need to rise up because we could see the rise of misogyny. There was a real slipping backwards in the progress that had been made in the previous decade with feminism. Things with the current government in the UK were really watering down rights that we had fought for before. So we felt we needed to come back big, and I'd had the seeds of an idea for a few years that was starting to come to fruition about the fact that women are often told to be small, sit down, be quiet, don't take up too much space, be skinnier. And I thought, what if we were big? And so the idea of giant protest puppets started to form. And we thought how girls' toys are often miniaturized as well. Everything's small and mini, and that can be cute, but it's limiting. Whereas you tend to see men and boys in statues and large paintings and buildings and street names named after men more often. So we felt there was a need to do something that countered that. So I reached out to a number of artists and said, do you think you could make a giant protest puppet with us? And most of them had made some kind of small structures or dolls or puppets of some kind before, but never anything quite at this scale. It was probably the most ambitious thing we have tried yet.
We chose to do Greta Thunberg and a pandemic nurse, so that was really, it was very right for the moment, I think, as well. So. Yeah, we did enjoy it, and I was looking back at the photos today, and it's just stunning moment, just seeing them all walking along through the city centre, because like when we were walking in it, we were like focused on walking in it, but then when you look back at the photos, you think, wow, look at that, this is what we did in Derby.
It was just completely different for me to sit there on a sewing machine, sort of trying to make up nurses' scrubs without a pattern, but to go on something that was just huge. And I think, was it yourself, Venus, and Leo spent so long like trying to get all the features, the tissue. That was, I was mostly sewing, but you did features more, didn't you? And
I did the face of Greta, I think, and if I want to be really specific, the eyes, I think I did that part. Yeah, well, the thing about you know, artwork is you never know how it ends. You know, sometimes you don't expect something go wrong, but it, you know, it goes that way anyway. But I think that was because we didn't really know how it ends, but it just turns out perfect, and that was such a relief. And well, you know, there's this excitement about, you know, doing something together, especially when you're working with people, you know, different groups, and some of them, well, they don't know really, they just come in and start trying for the first time. And well, I think we all had that, you know, that stress that maybe we should do that again. Is it going to be okay or not? But everything just was great, and the giants just looked perfect, and everything really was good.
I have never made a giant puppet in my life. And my first thoughts is I can't make it. I don't know how to make giant puppets, actually. But Vanessa said, yes, you can. Vanessa said, yes, you can make giant puppets. I'm like, wow, okay. If you've got faith in me, then, you know, I should probably find that faith in myself. The title of the doll itself is Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. So having women throughout history incorporated into the design of the doll was very important. And we also put local heroes, sheroes, into the dolls. Once those the puppets were made, actually marching with those puppets was an absolutely thrilling experience.
So the giant I was working on was Alice Wilden, and so it was a lovely thing to be given the topic of this woman from Derby that was this such inspirational suffragist, and so I kind of really enjoyed kind of delving into her story and finding out like what everything about her. I even kind of like traced her steps as to where her shop was in Normanton. Yeah, I even put together like a little zine about her brief history, so I could kind of hand that out to people when they kind of helped with the workshops to kind of help build the giant. Yeah, so I loved like researching that. It was a really wonderful kind of project to work on, and then to kind of combine it with creating this physical huge puppet, and then to kind of like literally, I remember it because I physically paraded it round the centre. It felt like such a special moment of everybody chanting, kind of like holding these puppets. Like it was a literal moment of strength as well. Yeah, like kind of, yeah, so that was pretty amazing, yeah.
My part was to hold the puppet. We went down along here. What was my part? I don't really know what my part was, apart from being in a beautiful place, surrounded by like-minded women that, you know, are just up for, you know, speaking their truth. Yeah, uplifting. When we got on the march, obviously, you know, not everybody had seen other people's puppets, because I hadn't seen the Punch and Judy one, you know. Does it still exist? Unfortunately, yes. Oh, yeah. And yeah, anyway, don't get me started. But it was uplifting to know that we're challenging stereotypes, you know, so, you know, we're stopping generations in their tracks, and, you know, that's not acceptable. No, that we don't do that anymore.
First time in 2022 as we marched, these giant protest puppets saying, "We refuse to be small, we will not shrink, we will take up space."
The most standout moment for me is the puppets, making the puppets. We did a lot here in the Women's Centre, and then actually when we marched them from here to the city centre, it was just amazing. I think it was such a special kind of moment, and it felt special and amazing to be doing it and seeing the reaction from everybody, and even us who'd been involved in it. It just felt magical, really. And then to see them now in the museum with their own like space, that's a standout moment for me, for sure.
One of my standout memories is when me and Nikira, we went round at the International Women's Day Festival in March, and we interviewed a variety of women, and we got to see all their different backgrounds and why they were here, and it was really empowering, especially to do that with a girl who is my age, which you don't really get a lot of, and it felt really empowering.
And the last march we did, and one woman, I can see her now, and she's we were just getting into town, and she was standing there, and I went over to her and said, "Are you okay?" And she explained that she'd not been on a march before, and this is very difficult, and she was actually a disabled young woman, and she spoke publicly. And actually that brings tears to me, genuinely. The emotional cycle that, because she did, and for her it was just so moving that she didn't know not one of us, and you're speaking to all these women and in town about such deep personal things, and I thought, us as a collective have done this. We've given this woman space, and yeah, sorry, I get really emotional and things like that, because it's real.
I want Women's Day, like International Women's Day, in the future to be about celebrating all the things that we've done and have more men celebrating with us, because let's be frank, there isn't enough. It is just women, and that definitely needs to be changed as well.
To summarise, it's hard to pick just 3 words to describe what International Women's Day Derby means, but I'm going to go for important, uplifting, courageous.
I think inspirational, empowering and fun.
Powerful.
Inspirational.
Sisterhood. And change making.
And joint working.
Celebratory. Inspiring.
Welcoming, fun.
I want to say angry. I know that sounds bad, but a lot of what we do is fueled by anger.
Fun, exciting and empowering.
Political.